All right. So then after you have your vertex, after you understand your shifting, the next step is to incorporate the stretch. Okay. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to start by graphing. So we're going to graph each of these functions, f of x, g of x, and h of x separately. So when we start, we're going to start off with f of x. Now f of x is 3, 7, so it's going to be over in quadrant 1. So, over 3 up 7, roughly over there. It doesn't matter exactly where it's at right now because we just want to understand how the stretch works. So now our stretch is 8. So what does that get? What that indicates to us is that when you move over one space, you're going to have to move up 8 spaces. All right. So if you move over 1, you're going to have to move up 8 spaces and you get your second point. Or we can call that R1, your first point to the right. And then we move over 1 space to the left and we also go up 8 spaces. Now, after that, to find other points, it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's just stop right here with this one and say that we understand that it is going to be a parabola, right? So we know that this is a parabola because it's a quadratic, and we now understand how it's been stretched. It's been stretched by a factor of 8, and this is usually enough to satisfy the understanding of what's going on. Now, if you want to find other points, we can talk about that in another session, but this right here is the basic principle, okay? All right, so we do the same thing, except this time we're going to do it with -9, -3. So we start with our x-axis and y-axis. This guy here is in quadrant 3, so we're going to go 9 spaces to the left, roughly there, and 3 spaces down, roughly there. So we'll say, -9, -3. So we go -9, -3. This is our vertex. Once again, we use our stretch. Our stretch is 5. What that means is as we move over as we move over 1 space, we're going to have to move up 5 spaces. And we get our next point. And then we move over 1 space to the left, and that means we have to move up 5 spaces, and we have enough for our parabola, essentially. So we graph our parabola right there. Most important thing at this point is to remember, don't draw straight lines, right? We're drawing curves right now, quadratic curves or parabolas. All right, moving on to the very last problem. We've got a vertex at -1, 4. So we're going to graph -1 up 4, which would be somewhere around here. So we'll write the vertex right there of -1, 4. And in this scenario, you'll notice that our stretch is negative. That means it's reflected. That means we're not going to go up 3. We're actually going to go down 3 spaces. So we go over 1 space, right? We go over 1 space, and then we're going to go down 3 spaces, and we get our next point. We're going to go 1 space to the left, and we're going to go down 3 spaces. And this gives us enough, like I said, to graph our parabola. So we graph our parabola right there. And that is how the stretch affects our vertex or our function.